Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Healthy Farm Living with Dwayne and Lori. So today we're going to be doing another episode on fermenting. Would you say that's one of our favorite things these days?
Yes.
It seems like we're fermenting fiends.
All the time.
We're trying to ferment everything we possibly can. We've had a couple misses, but for the most part, we've been pretty successful at some of the things that we've tried. So what we're going to bring you today is something that's very, very simple. And what are we working with today?
We are actually going to do asparagus.
Ooh, asparagus. We don't have asparagus on the farm yet.
No, not yet.
But it's on the plan. So we do plan on having our own. So we figure if we're gonna have asparagus, we better learn how to deal with asparagus. So I don't know about you, I'm not a huge asparagus fan, but it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah. Sometimes a little strong for me.
Sometimes it's a little bit strong. But I think the challenge that I've always had is it seems like asparagus is either overcooked or undercooked. So either it's soggy or it's still hard sticks. And you really kind of don't get anything in between those two things. So another thing with asparagus, I know it's hard to find organic. I don't think what we have today is organic. Obviously, if you can find it, go for it. Once we're growing it, we don't have to worry about that, but for today, that will do. Let's cover a little bit as far as what we're gonna need in order to get this ferment done.
For today, we are going to use one bundle of asparagus. We have some whole garlic cloves. We have a quart-size wide mouth mason jar. This is our fermenting weight. And then we have our airlock with the ring for the mason jar. And then over here, I've got 2 cups of water. And then we'll use 1.5 tablespoons of kosher salt for the brine.
So with the kosher salt, do you have to use kosher salt for this?
No, you don't have to. You can use sea salt, kosher salt, whichever you prefer. We do kosher salt with all of our fermenting so that we stay consistent on the saltiness or for making the brine. The first thing we need to do is we need to wash our asparagus. So next thing we need to do is we need to cut it down to fit into the mason jar. You don't want to go all the way up because you need to leave headspace. And then you also need to make sure that the asparagus is under the brine with the weight in there. So we're going to measure one and see the length that we need for each of these. So we got our first one, the size that we want. So now we need to go through and cut all these to size. We got all those cut. It didn't completely fill our jar. What we did is we did go through and get all the tips first. So then I'm gonna go through and get some more of the ones here to fill the jar. I'm just gonna try to avoid the ends, the ones that are like really woody. So we'll pick those ones out and definitely not use those ones, but use more of the other stems to fill the jar so it's nice and tight. So we got those all in there, pretty tight in there. I did use some of the smaller pieces just to make sure it was nice and tight. And then now we are going to add our garlic. So just whole garlic cloves. I'm just gonna put them right in the middle and just kind of push them around, kind of tuck them in there between the asparagus. And then we're gonna add our brine. So I've got the 2 cups of water. And I'm going to add 1.5 tablespoons of the kosher salt to that. I've got the brine made, so I'm going to go ahead and add it to the jar. I'm gonna try to just go just slightly above the asparagus in here. Hopefully I will have enough with the 2 cups that I made. If not, I might have to make a little bit more. Looks like we're gonna be pretty good. So I'm right at the tip of that, but with the weight, when we put that in there, it is gonna push it down a little bit and have the water come up higher. So we're gonna test it. And you want to make sure that you leave a headspace in your jar also, usually about a 1-inch headspace. We got the weight in here, gave it a good headspace with the brine. Now we're going to add our airlock. And the weights and these airlock lids we do have in our Amazon shop. So we're just going to put that on, put our ring on, just make sure that's on tight, and then that's it.
Lori did a great job of getting this together. I'm really excited to taste this when it's done. So basically this is gonna sit in the jar. You're gonna let it ferment for at least a week. With any fermentation, it gets more sour as it ferments longer. We found that a week is a good amount of time for us. So it looks like this when you first start, and then when you're done, it's gonna look something like this. So you can see, we talked a little bit in the beginning about asparagus and how it's hard to get that perfect cooked consistency, and you can see this looks like cooked asparagus. You'll get some white cloudiness that's very typical and completely normal as your ferment gets going, and of course the smell and the taste. So it definitely smells, you can smell the asparagus, and it kind of tastes a little bit like pickles, and I'm gonna grab one that's right here at the top. And so there is one of the asparagus. So there's one of your spears when it's done. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut off the end. We have noticed that as you get down to this more stemmy end, especially the actual stems as opposed to the spears, they're a lot stronger and woodier. But you can see, that's still not all kind of nasty and soggy. It's still nice and firm and crisp. And then of course, the taste. Really good. Okay, so the best way for me to describe it is an asparagus pickle. So you have, but it's a little bit different. It's not, there's definitely a vinegary type of flavor, which is common with fermented foods. You still taste the asparagus, but it's not real strong in your face. You taste asparagus, but it's not super strong. Nice and crunchy, but at the same time, it's not too hard or woody. It tastes very, very good. So of course, fermenting. One of the reasons why we really enjoy fermenting foods is it's one way to store it. Now you do need refrigeration once it's done fermenting, but it is a very good longer term storage and benefits. So you have beneficial bacteria. It's the reason why it ferments and hence fermentation. So you have beneficial bacteria that's very good for digestion. And a lot of studies have shown that your intestinal bacteria or your gut flora, probiotics are very important for your immune system in maintaining immune health and proper immune function. So on top of the digestion portion of it, you also have the immune benefits. So when it comes to farm healthy, definitely a farm healthy food. So a very simple fermentation recipe. So if you are into asparagus and you want to give this a shot, you can see it's very, very simple to do. As Lori mentioned, we do have a lot of what you've seen here today in our Amazon shop, so you'll be able to find it there. Particularly the fermentation weights, the airlocks are in there. I think we've got some kosher salt in there too, but obviously you can find that anywhere. So very, very simple, definitely worth trying out. So we hope you enjoyed this episode today, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of things we're going to be covering here as we live a healthy farm lifestyle that we want to share with you. Questions or comments, leave those in the comment section down below. If there's something specific that you would like us to do or to cover, we'll do our best to do that as well. And then our farming channel, if you haven't seen that, that's our sister channel. Take a look at that. If you're into farming, definitely something that you're going to want to check out. So our Amazon shop, I mentioned that before. I'll leave a link down in the description. That's a free, painless way to help support the channel. If you start with that link, it doesn't matter what you buy, you help to support us here. Thank you for joining us, and until next time,
Stay healthy.